It's been a while. Anyways. I've done this 2 times now, and each time something has gone wrong, and I'm so tired. So why am I doing this to myself? I ask. Because I do actually think this is incredibly interesting. And I just know Rob, as the chalant feminist he is, would love to hear more from myself, a woman. Anyways, in 4 modules, we've talked about Judith Butler because they kind of reimagined a lot about gender and identity, and it's very interesting. So, I'm so done. Sorry, I think I may be overtired because I've done this 2 times, and like I say, I've acted like a freak each time. So I don't know what's going on. Anyways, we're gonna also, I have a script, which I don't usually, because I was excited to talk about this. And also I felt like it'd been a while, so I needed something to hold my hand. So I might sound a little cleverer than I would in person, because I'm not very good at speaking on the spot. But if I put these bad boys into words, my thoughts, by the way, if I put these bad boys into words, I'm like the next really clever person in the whole wide world. Anyways, Judith Butler. I do love them. They're amazing. So, together we'll explore their groundbreaking ideas about gender, identity, and performativity, examining how their work has reshaped not just academic theory, but also practical understandings of gender in society. We'll begin by understanding who Judith Butler is and what they've contributed to the world of philosophy and gender studies. So, who is Judith Butler? I might not be able to put a picture, but I'll try. Judith Butler is a prominent American philosopher and gender theorist, born in the 1950s, not saying which year. They're most famous for their work in feminist theory, queer theory, and post-structuralism. Butler's ideas about gender have radically challenged traditional understandings of identity, moving away from seeing gender as a fixed biological truth to an understanding of gender as something that is socially constructed and then enacted. Their most influential work is Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity in the 90s. Here, Butler argued that gender is not something we are, but something we do. The idea of gender as a performance has had profound implications for how we think about not just gender, but the very nature of identity and subjectivity. So, at the heart of Butler's theory of gender is the concept of performative acts, kind of like Goffman's dramaturgical theory of oneself and the social life. Go and read about that as well. We read about it. I think it's pretty cool. I'm doing my essay on it. Anyways, Butler. The concept of performant acts is the idea that gender is not an expression of some internal natural essence, but a series of behaviours and actions that are socially regulated. So in simple terms, when we perform gender, we are enacting a set of socially constructed norms and expectations. Things like how we dress, speak, move, and interact with others. These performances are not an expression of an innate gender identity, but are part of a larger system of cultural practices that construct and regulate what we understand as masculine and then feminine. Butler takes inspiration from philosopher J.L. Austin's theory of speech acts. The idea that language doesn't just describe the word, but can actually bring things into our existence, just as we can perform an action with our words. For instance, saying, I promise. Butler suggests that gender works similarly. Through repeated acts and behaviours, we constitute gender as a reality. For instance, when someone is called she or he, or when someone dresses in a particular way, these actions are not neutral, they are part of a ritualised system that constructs and reinforces gender norms. Butler argues that these performances are not expressions of an essential inner gender identity, but rather they are very means by which gender is constituted. constituted. Jesus Christ, my brain is done. Critique of gender essentialism. One of the central critiques Butler makes in Gender Trouble is of gender essentialism, the belief that gender is a natural fixed characteristic tied to biological sex. Essentialist theories often claim that men and women have inherent essential qualities that make them who they are, rooted in their biology. Side note, this gets me every time because it's so annoying, because essentialist theorists will quite often say like, oh, a woman is someone who can have a baby. And then it's like, well, you get women who are infertile that you yourself would think was a woman, but she can't have a baby, so she doesn't fit your description or your definition. So what? And no matter how narrow you make that definition or how wide you make that definition, there's always going to be a woman who doesn't fit into it, and it annoys me because it's like even your view doesn't work here, man. Chill out. Anyways, similarly to me, Butler rejects this view. Because I'm a really important person too, guys. My opinion really matters. Butler argues that gender is not reducible to biology. Sorry, it's just not. Like, yeah. The categories of male and female are not natural, but social and historical constructions. In other words, our cultural ideas of masculinity and femininity are not rooted in nature, but in a complex system of power, history, and social practice. What a crazy thought, brother. Sorry, I wrote that. Now I feel like I'm just being mean to myself, but like it really grinds my gears. Butler's rejection of essentialism is important not just for feminist theory, but also broader LGBTQ+ politics. For instance, their work challenges the binary understanding of gender, which forces individuals into rigid categories like male and female. Instead, Butler opens up the possibility for a more fluid and diverse understanding of gender, one that accounts for the experiences of transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming individuals. In their critique, Butler draws on Foucault's theory of power, suggesting gender is not an individual expression or identity, but something produced through social structures and norms. Gender is not stable, fixed identity, but a social construct that is constantly being reinforced through various institutions, such as the family, education, and the media. Broke the fourth wall there. Did I? Anyways. Bear with me, because this gets good. That's embarrassing. Butler's idea about gender have profound political implications. Since gender is not fixed biological essence but a series of performed acts, then it follows that the ways in which we think about and enact gender can be transformed. The performative nature of gender means that there's always room for resistance, for disruption, and for subverting the norms that dictate what it means to be masculine or feminine. This is where Butler's ideas connect with feminist and queer political movements. By recognizing that gender is performative, activists and theorists have the power to challenge and destabilize traditional norms. Gender non-conforming individuals, in particular, become crucial figures in this resistance. By refusing to conform to traditional gender norms, they expose the performative nature of gender and call into question the entire system that dictates how we are supposed to be. Moreover, Butler's theory of performativity opens up a space for new possibilities for gender identities. If gender is something we do, then it is not limited to just two choices, man or woman. People can experiment with and express gender in ways that are far more complex, nuanced, and flexible. For instance, non-binary, gender fluid, and agender identities challenge the restrictive binary that has historically governed gender identities. Butler allows for gender to be more of a spectrum. I feel like I could have made that one sentence. Anywho, Butler's work is foundational for queer theory, a field that emerged in the 90s, which was later than I thought. But then, the more I thought about it, I was like, oh no, that makes sense. Just a quick side note that I thought people would be interested in the way my brain works. They question the very premise of binary systems, those that divide the world into two opposite and opposing categories. Just as Butler critiques the binary of male and female They also challenge the binary of heterosexual and homosexual, suggesting that both systems of categorization are limiting. In their later work, such as Bodies That Matter in 1993, Butler further explores this in ways in which the body itself is inscribed by societal norms, becoming a site for the performance of gender. This process of inscription, they argue, is not neutral, but is deeply tied to power dynamics and social control. Butler suggests that bodies are not pre-given, rather they are shaped by cultural and social forces that construct what is considered normal or deviant. For instance, the ways in which certain bodies are policed or disciplined, whether through dress codes, medical treatment, or legal systems, reveal the power structures at play in the regulation of gender and sexuality. How does this apply to the world around us? At a practical level, Butler's ideas challenged us to rethink the rigid categories that structure our lives. In the realm of the law, policy, and social relations, their work urges us to consider how gender identity and expression should be treated with greater flexibility, recognition, and respect. Butler's work has inspired movements for gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights, and their ideas have informed activism aimed at deconstructing normative gender roles and the violent policing of bodies that don't conform to these norms. For instance, the rise of transgender and non-binary visibility in the past few decades can be seen as a political outcome of the very concepts Butler introduced. The affirmation of gender diversity is part of a larger movement towards social and cultural acceptance of difference. In the classroom, Butler's theories have shifted the ways in which educators think about gender and sexuality. Rather than simply teaching about the binary system, many scholars now explore the multiplicity of gender identities and the role of performativity in shaping how we understand ourselves and others. To conclude, sorry, I don't know what that was either. Anywho, Butler radically transformed how we understand gender, identity, and sexuality. Through rejecting essentialist views and proposing that gender is a performative act, they opened up new possibilities for how we think about and enact gender in ways that are more fluid, diverse, and inclusive. Their theories of gender performativity offer us a powerful tool for challenging the normative frameworks that have constrained our understanding of identity. In doing so, they invite us all to consider how we might disrupt, transform, and reimagine the ways in which we perform and experience gender in the world, which is why I shave my head, brother. That's all my script has to say. Sorry for being a little all over the place. Sarah, see you Sunday. Bye-bye.